How's everyone doing this morning?
Splendid.
Excellent. Excellent. What's new and exciting? Anyone? Someone? Come on.
I've been playing with AI a lot. I bought Perplexity.
Great.
And it is just amazing what you can do with it.
Yes, it is.
It's just, I've been asking all sorts of different questions, and it's like, okay, I've been playing with stock stuff with it. I said, if I did this strategy since 2015, assuming that you're a stock analyst, and here's the parameters, what would their return been? And it said, okay, here it is.
Yep.
So it's been really fascinating. And then I just use it. I've been using it. I just started my LinkedIn thing. So I'm going to have Plato talk to Stephen Jobs about topics in today.
Nice.
And so yesterday I did my first one and I got great traffic. I did Plato talking to Tim Cook.
Cool.
And it was just say, put it in their tone or their cadence and that. And it's like, that's interesting. People just it was well received.
That's awesome. And it didn't hit my I'll have to go and check it out. Great post over the weekend, Bob. And you saw that I reacted vociferously.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey guys, if your post hits my if your post catches me, it hits my feed, I essentially always comment. So that will become impossible over time, but I try, especially if it's on point and there's something in our methodology or process that is relevant that can amplify what you're seeing. So I try at least. Wow, a lot going on here. So we're going to final QA. I know I say this every week, but we had one industry that for some reason was returning a bit of an error. It was pulling the wrong valuation data. Oh my God, I just looked at a valuation. That's being hyperbolic. I just looked at a evaluation calculator that's out there in the market that is irresponsible, to be nice. No, I'm not going to say who it is. You can figure it out for yourselves, but it's irresponsible and arguably would put guys in breach of their small f fiduciary responsibility to their clients. And if you see it, you'll know exactly what I mean. And essentially instantly, you guys are veterans. So, but a lot of great stuff. There's so much great stuff going on. Is anybody else experiencing that? And I have my theory as to why, but is anyone else our phone is blowing up? We're signing people up. Something has changed out there. Anyone else seeing that?
When did you begin to notice that?
A couple weeks ago, and it ramped up quickly. And because it had gotten really quiet there for a while, right? And that I was hearing from you guys. I was hearing it from some of our perceived competitors. We turbocharge other systems. We don't compete with them. But I was, at those conversations. So Bill, a couple weeks ago, and it's ramped up quickly, and the activity is, it's 14-hour days.
You mean specifically inquiries?
What exactly inbound inquiries. People registering for the conference, including people that I've never met before, with whom I've never had a conversation. People registering for demos, people purchasing the software. Just a lot of activity from me and from, we're staying in that senior professional slice, just like you guys, all of you. People with a lot of experience showing up and saying, "Hey,
what's your hunch about what's happened or why?" Or
I think uncertainty. I think, Bill. My read is, and guys, I love your perspective. My read is that we have two things. One, the Fed will lower rates in September. I think that's kind of getting baked into the market. That's what people believe. And so that with all the good that can come from that, and there's a lot less uncertainty about the policy after the election. There's a lot less uncertainty, and that's not a political commentary. I just think that there's a lot less uncertainty, and that uncertainty after the debate, I think that started to gel anyway, that's my theory, Bill. That's just one man's.
Well, and I think too, there's like a limited number of things out there that are doing what Growth Drive is trying to do, and Growth Drive in its way is sort of unique in how it's approaching it. Yeah. Compared to the competitors. So I think sometimes you're always going to get people circling around looking at other things and then say, well, what else is out there? And then they discover Growth Drive, right? So so I think, maybe, it's just like, why does something go viral on Instagram or Twitter? Sometimes we never know. So it's just maybe you just got some mass recognition that's, someone mentioned it and on a YouTube thing or whatever, and or a webinar, and a whole bunch of people start to check it out, and then they're very interested in. And I think Growth Tribe is unique enough that it's not like another Me Too product.
No, it is. Thank you. We're working hard and working hard to support. Ultimately, vision. And actually, this is what I wrote in in answer to your post, Bob. Our vision is to move, have positive momentum for $1 trillion of middle market businesses, and increasing their strategic capacity. And speaking of which, thank you very much, David. That's a huge compliment. Speaking of which, we continue to work on programs that I believe over the middle term will end up with a lot of opportunities for you guys. So opportunities to collaborate in engagements with you guys. And there are a couple of reasons that we as a community are attractive. One is that we're all senior level, right? Or you are all senior level, and we have quality assurance, right? So that not only does your LinkedIn profiles look great, but we also have quality assurance, right? You've been through an onboarding program, you have a common methodology, we have a common process. Many of you are C3D. By the way, if you've been through certification, please add the C3D to your LinkedIn profile, et cetera, to your signature line.
Hey, Silvana, George was referring to the gray hair, and he wasn't speaking to you.
Great. Yeah.
Morning, everyone. It's so lovely to see you all.
You okay?
No, I'm okay. I just, for some reason, I started talking and my vocal cords decided, not ready yet.
It's a conspiracy. Awesome. So, yeah, and so there's just so much great stuff going on in the market right now, and some things I don't know how. We can't run around saying, "Hey, man, when you do X, you're gicking up the market," right? You're just confusing people. And I have a couple of ideas about how to address that as an industry, right? But we shall see. A lot of fun stuff. Who here has seen? Who here have I shown the new strategic capacity and value growth report to? Strategic capacity and business value report. This guy. Okay, because there's no show of hands. Okay, so we looked at this a couple weeks ago. It's being coded right now, and I think you're going to like it. If you'd like a copy, shoot me a note, and I'll send it to you. It's currently being relatively.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
I want it.
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, I'll send
everybody,
it
please.
I had one guy I discussed. So I've discussed it with a bunch of people. Not really we workshopped one of the terms last week. Yeah. And what we came up with as a group is actually baked in here now. I've also been through this report with several of you. And Steve, I know I had threatened to send it to you, but we got a lot of collaborative input as to what is in here, and we take a very different tone than very, very different tone than anything else that's out there. David, to your point, I think David, you're going to love this thing. But we tell a story, right? We tell a story about here are your business metrics. Here's a summary of our analysis. Your strategic capacity, the methodology that we use. Here's how. Let's explain scoring. So you're going to be able to look at this and explain to your client, like, here's what a 59 means. Here's what percentile you're in, etc. How we calculate value and why, and what other methods of. So we take a market approach, but there's asset based and and DCF, and those, why do we go with market, and where are those others relevant? And then what are the range of values for your business, and then taking action, right? So really, here's how your business presents, here's what your strategic capacity, what it means, how it impacts the value of your business, and then here's what you can do about it, preliminary recommendations. So hopefully the design is intended so that you can have some really powerful conversations with your clients. This report is generated after completing level 1 and is included in the growth driver level of subscription. Okay. And of course, we have an equity value planning report based on the equity value planner that'll follow close behind.
Now, George, is this editable?
Not yet. It is.
But
you can see the embarrassment, right? Am I turning red? Not yet.
Well, it's okay. I don't need to finish prior. But is the intention eventually to have something?
Yes, the intention is, and it is incredibly challenging to publish this as a .docx because it's not that it's hard to put it out as a .docx. It is very, very hard to turn it in a consistent format as a .docx. So things just go kaflooey, and that is based on how we've set up all of our machines and the Microsoft, Google, Apple war, and so I've always promised that we would do that. But go ahead, Silvana, please.
You mentioned about the workshopping last week, and I wanted to point out that over the past year that I've been talking a lot about strategic intent. I love strategic capacity. However,
we're losing you.
A lot of
Okay, sorry, we lost your audio for a sec there, Silvana.
Say again.
Okay, what I was trying to say is that I more often than not get a question, what is strategic capacity?
Yeah.
So I think it might be helpful, and maybe, the definition there already there, but maybe another workshop idea would be for all of us to sort of like look at what the current definition is and how we're using it, and how do we best make that clear, because I feel like the notion of strategic capacity, it's something very important. It just needs to take place and to take flight with the people that we talk to as a new notion.
Absolutely. It's the definition is, it's in here. It's also, yes. So let's have a workshop. And I think an interesting workshop might be to do it together or in two parts. What is intent, right? What is strategic intent? And then what is the business's capacity to deliver that intent? And you'll see, Silvana, I think that's a great idea. And we'll do it. Let's set that up for... So
in another way...
Somebody remind me that we're going to do this in the end of August. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm bringing for the rest of the group is I've done a lot of work with exit boards, as you know, with Ron and everything else. And so in the context of exiting, it's always obvious for people or for the business owners to look at where they are right now and what is their multiplier. Mm-hmm. And so in that case, very often when we use Growth Drive to figure out where they are, and then we do the different scenarios of their potential value, there is always this, should I wait another 2 or 3 years, assuming you can, or if you are in a position to get that strategic capacity realized. However, if our goal as growth advisors and coaches is to get into the business way earlier and start educating and start creating a steady state of work where Growth Drive becomes the backbone of the way that the business owner and the leadership is looking at it. The idea of, you have to really, your intent could be that you want to grow, but if you don't have strategic capacity to grow, or you need to work on how to create the strategic capacity because where you are right now, you can't, it's a wonderful notion. And I think it's something that is very valuable, not just at the exit portion, but also at during the growth of the company.
Absolutely. And even I thoroughly agree, because one of the premises is, okay, guys, I sent it to you, Steve. I meant to send it to everyone. Okay, there you go. Guys, this is intended to be closely held. So please, it's for you to review, call me with questions, but please don't share it. So we're going to make an announcement about it, and we will have a big public workshop webinar about this report. I'll probably do that in 2 parts. Anyhow, there you have it. And Silvana, your point's a really good one. My premise is that built businesses, and it's in my book, built businesses exist for the benefit of the shareholders. They also exist for the benefit of the stakeholders, different, overlap, but different. But the businesses fundamentally need to deliver a return to the shareholders. And if we agree that a business needs to deliver a return for the shareholders, and that transferable value is the ultimate measure of business success, that's my strong prejudice, then growing profits, increasing strategic capacity, ensuring that we have a high quality business that has the opportunity to monetize value, transfer value, right? Or the shareholders are just holding, paper. That is the fundamental role of the CEO, is to maximize, and we say that in this report, is to maximize shareholder value within within the vision and mission. And so full-throated, I thoroughly agree, Silvana. And I'd love to workshop strategic intent. Where do you intend to take this business? And you'll see intent emphasized more in this report, a little more. Where do you, instead of saying where do you want to take the company, where do you intend to take the company? And it's a subtle difference, but words matter. Where do you intend to take this business? And I want clients to say, what do you mean intend? Well, what are you committed to doing? And we're qualifying them, right? Do you have a can-do, will-do attitude? Do you know where you want to go? Let me help you define where you intend to take this thing, what it must deliver for you, what will happen if it doesn't, what will happen to you and your family, to your stakeholders. I'm on a roll. But anyway, so thoroughly agree. And once we have intent nailed down, and that's the first class of our certification course, right? What's having the growth conversation, then we can look at the business and say, right, what's the business's capacity? What's its strategic, what's its capacity to deliver your intent? And then if it doesn't have the capacity, let's change that. It's really no more complicated than that. It's not easy, but it's no more complicated than that. And David, to your point earlier, you're right. No one else is talking about these types of topics, right? Biz equity certainly does it. Capitalized would like to, but Capitalized does what they do mostly very well, but it's not this, right? They talk about, and everybody talks about making value actionable and growing, but they don't do what we do. And I'm very happy they don't, which is why we're able to say, well, we turbocharge, EOS, take that EOS 1, it doesn't get you anywhere near where we play, which is why we can turbocharge an EOS implementer. Right? So, or an EOS implementation. Okay, I'm done. I'll take a breath. Does that all make sense? Yeah, cool. So what are you hearing from your clients, guys? Do you mind if I shift gears? I'm going to go from third down into second. What are you hearing from your clients? Are your clients optimistic, troubled, pessimistic? Or your clients and your colleagues? What are you hearing? What do you think the mood is out there?
I think it's optimistic. I mean, because as you know, I do that CEO peer group, and I had 12 or 13 CEOs last Tuesday, and they're all like, business is good, although they still have the employee issues, and we're working with that. Some uncertainty with regards to the economy.
Bob, when you say employee issues, are you talking about people productive and loyal, or are you people hiring and training?
Productive and loyal.
Okay.
But that I'm finding is changing, because I don't think it's as easy to find a job as it was, 6-12 months ago. So
interesting. I wish Jeff Ketchum was on. He has his finger on the pulse. I mean, holding the beating heart. This is what he does. That's interesting. You know what I like? I like that we can actually differentiate, be like, what aspect of people are we talking about? That's kind of the power of the system. Anyone else?
I have a sample of one.
Okay.
Talking to a potential business buyer last week, and he's interested in buying a business just so he can buy people because he's having a hard time getting people.
That's fascinating. Huh.
Yeah, labor shortages are pretty serious in lots of places. So that means that recruiting is a hot issue, but churn is also a hot issue.
Yeah, churn and churn is so, a lot of business owners don't get how expensive churn is, you know.
Oh, no kidding.
It can be a business killer. That's interesting, Bill. You know, I wonder if has anybody seen any stats, any data on wage inflation? Because that's typically, you would expect the market to react. You know, we say that you should be paying your people what the market will bear, not what you can afford. And if you can't pay people what the market will bear, that's something you need to fix. You know, fascinating. Sorry, I have to run. David, great to see you, man. Be good. You have a great week. Bye.
Another issue I noticed recently through another conversation, what's everyone's view on supply chain? And this was particularly about computer parts, but is supply chain issues becoming a thing again that it was during COVID? I know it is it seems to be for computer related parts.
And Bob's going to ask Perplexity. I absolutely love Perplexity, by the way. Oh, I'm addicted. Sydney calls it my girlfriend. Well, you know, so I'd love to know. That's a great question, Steve. That I'm a little embarrassed. I haven't followed from a data perspective. I do know that there's some concern. I have one friend in particular who's really concerned about tariffs in a Trump administration. Really concerned.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
And we'll see, you know, see how this all plays out. It's hard as a free marketeer, you know, that's a whole other debate. But how about you, Silvana? What are you hearing from clients and colleagues? Positive, negative, optimism? Any specific?
Honestly, I've been a little bit out of the loop the last 3 months, so I'm slowly catching up on everything. I do know that the churn part came up, and then the other thing that came up last month when I was at an event was that specifically in technology, the type of labor force that especially the quantum companies are looking for. So now we're talking about next gen. Now we're talking about the future. And so it is not only that, you know, there is a churn or there is, you know, sometimes not very easy to find the right people for the right seats, but also the right education. At least in our area, there is a lot of talk about how the education system is not keeping up with the needs of the labor force. And specifically, there was this gentleman that is part of this investment fund, but also works with quantum companies. And basically, they were seeing a lot of situations where quantum companies are bypassing even high schools and going to middle school to find out those outliers and then start basically, you know, creating the employee of the future, you know,
Great.
6 years down the road.
I love that. You know what we forget about schools? Do you know why you guys, and research this, Perplexity will write you a beautiful essay about it. Do you know why schools are organized the way they're organized? Do you know why you stand in line and learn to read and write and learn math and react to a bell? This all comes out of industrial design.
Yes.
And it all comes out of 19th century industrial design. And school originally was designed to get people through 6th, maybe 8th grade, and then they were to go to work. You know, things that we now have laws against. But I love the concept of industries getting involved in training, in identifying and promoting. And why shouldn't they? Especially, they should also be underwriting some of the cost. You know, the biggest beneficiary. There's like what a fun workshop this would be, right? Who benefits from? And our high schools have gone from being the envy of the world to not being the envy of the world, and that's crime. But you know what's been happening, which I find fascinating? We kind of killed tech schools, VOTech, right? And now some of the states, South Carolina is one of them, New Hampshire. This just coincidentally 2 states. Maybe that's why I'm aware. But VOTEC is coming back. There's everything right with learning how to be a welder, right? We need welders. There's everything right about learning how to run a CNC machine. These are good jobs, man. These are good careers. And you have kids. It hit my sons right here. One of their friends, they all went to college, liberal arts education. They're fine. But one of their friends went to welding school, got a VOTEC degree, and in his first year as a welder, he made $120,000. Suddenly, my sons see this guy, one of their friends who's got a great job. He works regular hours. He has a house. He has a truck. He has a boat. He has all the things that a young 20-something with 10 grand a month in New Hampshire, right? That's a lot of money. But VOTEC is coming back. Love that. Love the quantum involvement there, Silvana. Steve, fire away, man.
I have an opinion on politics, but I'm not actively involved in politics. But recently, I've been to a couple political events. Last night, in fact, and both of these events, the speaker, which was the candidate, and some other people in the audience that I chatted with, are keenly interested in our educational system.
Good.
The guy last night that was talking is running for lieutenant governor's position, and to the point that you just made, George, he said if he gets elected, he's going to serve on the education committee, whatever it's called. But anyway, said there's nothing wrong with teaching kids trades that can make a good 6-figure living, and we need to get back to that, and yada yada yada. So
yeah.
So
training kids out with degree. Yeah. Yes. I would love to hear that. Silvana, please.
But I totally agree. I totally agree about the trade schools. In my country, trade schools were, a very good way for people that didn't want to go to four-year college to get a degree. And here, I don't hear it as often. But what struck me from that conversation is that if quantum today, which quantum right now, it's out of the bag. It's not something that is going to come in the future. It's here. So if quantum today is going to middle school, that means that, there are 7 years worth of students that are not necessarily cutting it. And I'm not saying in all 100%. What I'm saying is that, what concerned me, and I'm also in the board of directors of Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, so we talk a lot about these kind of things. What concerns me is what do we do in the near term? Because what quantum is doing is working in the 5-year term until these kids come out of college or so on, or I'm like high school maybe, not even college. So I guess the question is, what do we do in the next 5 years? Yes, please.
Could someone define quantum for me?
Quantum computing is a technology that it is supercomputers. It is the ability to. I'm sorry. Are you?
No, you're still there. Yeah.
Okay. So it is basically like supercomputers that can do the work of many computers into one computer and in a shorter period of time.
Okay, I got that. But in terms of the educational system, aren't you simply talking about teaching kids computer science?
Well, apparently that's what I thought. But apparently there are certain skill sets that are needed right now that apparently the current education system is not quite cutting it. Now, a lot of those people get those skill sets as they go, the jobs. But the point, and Steve, you asked a very good question. I haven't had, this just happened last month, so I haven't had a chance to sort of like analyze it or figure out what's going on. We're just still kind of making use of what that meant and how correct that statement was. But the bottom line is, in the last year, I've been in conversations with George Mason University, with the University of Shady Groves here in the area. There is a lot of happening in trying to figure out what does the universities or the schooling of the future looks like. Like Google has put like a grant in University of Shady Groves, looking at taking the way that they're being taught apart, and instead of just going about the same for everybody, is they are going with 4 pathways. So they are running a program and researching the benefits of, taking students more on a pathway that actually gets them better prepared to be an employee in that particular industry or pathway that they chose, which means that it's more in depth and, it still gives them the basic, knowledge to be whatever they need, but it gives them more in-depth knowledge that actually enables them to excel and be better at what it is pathway that they have chosen.
Yeah. And there's go ahead, Steve.
One of the conversations I had last night with a guy that's actively involved in the biggest county. I live in the biggest county in the state. I think it's the biggest. But anyway, he's actively involved in the education system, and he's trying to get the education system to move. There's a lot of, I got to be careful that we don't get into politics here, but teaching kids how they feel as opposed to teaching kids skills. So he was an F-4 fighter pilot and blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. So he comes from that background, technical and all that good stuff. But anyway, it's teaching skills.
In a debate we should be having, and I think we sort of are having, and not just here, but out, is the power of a liberal arts education, meaning teaching people how to do something, but also giving them a broad perspective, right? That was how would Plato talk to Tim Cook, in philosophy, in literature, in the arts, in STEM, and the power. A lot of the world looks at the United States still and says, how the hell do you guys invent so much stuff? And the British especially are like, we have essentially the same education system. So what is it in your culture that is you guys just churn out inventions? And it's not simply, because we're only 350,000 people, right? We're not India, we're not China, and yet we churn out, the EU is about the same size. We churn out inventions on a scale that is enviable. And anyway, hey, Joe, how are you, man? Joe's at the club. I've been in that room. And
so
humility.
Can I add one more thing about Steve? I think we are in an unprecedented, uncharted territory. And I think the cat is out of the bag when it comes to paying attention. Now, there is a lot of attention and there is a little attention. There is the right balance of attention on emotions. But what, as somebody that has spent a lot of time in change management and have to work a lot with behavior and neuroscience and so on, and technology, in the technology space, I've come to realize that I don't think it's one size fits all. But more importantly, I think that I know my two kids go to one of the best high schools in the nation and in here. And that high school is failing those kids.
Wow.
So my point is that I think that we all either be CEOs and advisors and parents and, hiring people. We need to take a step back and think about when we teach our kids or when we hire or when we go out, what are the skill set that we need for the future? And I put this book called Humility is the New Smart. And it's funny because this book came out before OpenAI and ChatGPT. And it talks about what are the skills that are needed to be successful in the coming age of technology and so on, and the direction we're going. And we're here right now. We are in first phase of technology. So I think instead of just saying about feelings, maybe we should talk about emotional intelligence. We talk about those softer skills that makes leaders and makes managers and makes people successful to succeed. And so I think that just saying, talk about the feelings is just a very beginning and it's an opening point, but it's way much more complicated than that. And I think we have a lot of work to do on that. But this book is really good. I loved it because I thought the research behind it was fascinating. And it's grounded in science, and it talked about getting ready for this new, for what the future would come without even knowing that AI would come much faster than they expected. So
yeah, I just posted Humility is the New Start, the link to Amazon. Awesome. Another book to read. Thank you, Silvana.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks a
I have a
lot.
question. In the whole context of skills and education, how much do you guys think AI and machine learning is going to change jobs and skills for the future?
It's a great question.
Just a tad here and there, or huge?
Huge.
I agree. So if you don't know what skills you're going to need, how do you know how many salespeople you're going to need in 2027? How do you do a workforce plan in an intelligent HR budget unless you understand what the skills are? And if the skill sets are moving so quickly, some are being automated, some are being augmented, et cetera, et cetera. I think we are very much in chaos around this issue. That doesn't mean that people shouldn't learn trades, they should. But for workforces that are scientific, professional, or technical, particularly, I think those workforces are going to be just absolutely hammered by change. And everything I see and read is that it's not just the technology side. To get that right, the managers are going to need to understand what all this technology is capable of, but they're also going to need a hell of a lot more people skill, tact, touch, emotional intelligence, whatever you want to call it. It's not feeling, it's about how to manage people. And so I think we're on the edge of a huge disconnect that way that we haven't kind of got our heads around yet.
I have to put a vote in for my ex-profession, engineering. Liberal arts is fine, but engineering, from my perspective, teaches you how to solve problems and think critically. So anyway.
Well, how should colleges teach engineering given AI and machine language coming forward?
Go ahead.
So it's funny you said this, Bill, because this is what I'm doing right now. I'm mapping what a AI tool can do for a cybersecurity organization, and what the CISO, the chief, security officer of a company, what do they need to do? How do they need to plan? How do they need to look at this? Right. And I go back to the basics, Bill. Like, let's think about the sales organization. I guess that's what I like to do a lot, sort of like being between the technology and the business and articulate what's what for everybody. In the next year, 2 or 3, and George and, Steve and everybody that uses the tools knows very well, I think that the conversation is not about who is going to replace what. It's more about what can we do better using these technologies. So I think that, the best way to go about it is your sales process, it's always going to stay the same for now. There's always going to be things that need to happen. The question is, who is going to do those steps? And is that going to be automatic or manual? And in this particular case, there is no fully automatic solution for any of the sales steps per se. So the way that we're looking at it, if I were to take my CISO, mapping and working and everything else, and the salesperson is the same thing. What do I need to do? How many, activities or processes or whatever? What is the skill set that each of my people need to have actually to do? And then what part of their work can be done by utilizing AI? And then to me, bottom line, and I've been doing this since 2018 with AI, the question is, do I do the same amount of work with fewer people, or do I do more with the same amount of people? And that's the starting conversation. Now, there are nuances in other places, but AI at this particular point, the value proposition is efficiency and effectiveness, and it is, more about who is doing what and what portion of it can be done by AI, and if it's automatic or manual. That's my first 2 cents.
I think that's all true, but it's only half the equation.
Well, what's interesting
what's going to happen on the buyer side? What's procurement going to do with AI?
Oh, well, that's the funny part. When you say procurement, and I've been especially in the federal space, I've been sort of supporting the decision making in that, or anytime that somebody makes decisions about technology, there is always there is always a return on investment, but most importantly, total cost of ownership about technologies. Let's say hands down, and there is data out there, that there are few organizations or people out there that fully utilize all the technology that they buy. Usually, most of the time, it's even less than 50% of the power of the technology they have in their hands or in their computer they're using. Yeah. And that's the best case scenario. So let's talk a little bit about AI. What are we buying?
Note, we on August 14th, we are getting 12 CEOs together in the manufacturing distribution cover to have a focus group specifically on AI. Because one of the guys, because bottom line is we want to find out what their pain points are. And then one of the guys, we're starting a company basically that's going to address this AI, because all these companies have heard of AI and it's like, okay, they don't know what it can do. And you can give them all the prompts in the world. And I say it's like giving them all 26 letters of the alphabet. That is great. But unless you know how to put them together, you don't know.
We need to speak in English about AI.
What?
We need to start speaking in English about AI, because ultimately in the end, we get talk about AI like there is this mythical beast that all of a sudden is going to either take over or solve all our problems. It's not like that. So it's funny you said that, because I've been spending the last 10 days talking about how do organizations, implement AI in their organization in a way that can have some measure of control or some measure of way of figuring out what is that doing. But ultimately, in the end, what is AI? It is large data set, large data, language model, and there is an algorithm that actually basically translate you put a prompt in English, it translates it into an algorithm. That algorithm goes and basically mines all those data sets and comes back with something that actually matches what you want. Now, I'm simplifying everything, but the bottom line is...
Hey, Silvana, I've got to leave in 1 minute. I just want to make a point, and then you guys can take over the meeting. This is exactly why our summit... Who's coming to the summit? This is exactly why our summit is focusing on, business advisory in the quantum age. And I wanted to make it bigger than AI. We have an AI focus, but what the hell does it mean? How do we use it? What are the things that we can use immediately to help our advisory businesses and our clients? And that's the focus of the summit. And if you want to learn more, you should really consider coming. He said on a shameless.
By the way, if you need any help with your summit, let me know. One of my good friends, he's a AI architect out of Google. So
awesome. And we have Benjamin Bonham. I'm hoping Benjamin Bowman. I'm hoping will come. We had him on the podcast here last week, 2 weeks ago. He is an AI strategist, and I'm hoping that he's going to join us. Guys, I'm sorry, I absolutely have to drop. This was a terrific, wow, what a wide-ranging and free-rolling conversation. I love these. I'm happy when you guys shot me down on putting in an agenda. So anybody have anything they want to share? I'm going to scoot. I don't know if you guys, are you going to stay on?
I got to scoot.
Okay.
Take care. See ya.
Listen, guys, great conversation. Thank you. All right, we'll see you all next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.